Hi, people often talk about and mention that their panic attacks happen out of the blue and that they've been doing really well, haven't had anything for a long time, and then bang, suddenly they have a panic attack and they don't understand why this is. And it's very distressing for people because, as we know, panic attack symptoms are very unpleasant. I have experienced them myself, so I know what they're like. That rapid heart rate, the hyperventilation, almost the feeling like you're going crazy, that everything's closing in on you, and you feel trapped. So the list is long, but they're very, very unpleasant. And people become very mystified by feeling or wondering why I'm having a panic attack out of the blue, when sort of consciously there's no, if you like, lead up to it. There's no prelude of having had really anxious thoughts or some nasty event or something that they can obviously put their finger on and point to. And this leads people to feel, and if you're watching this and you're one of these people who has panic attacks out of the blue, maybe you think, like, there's just something not right with me. I'm going crazy. There's something seriously wrong. But panic attacks, whilst they do happen out of the blue, sort of, on paper, it's been shown that actually often they're not out of the blue, because there was some research done, and I do a lot of research and study into this. There was research done in the University of Texas by a lady called Alicia Moret. And the study was examining participants who suffer from panic attacks out of the blue. So with no obvious lead up to it and nothing obviously pointing to it that made them feel, okay, I'm going to have a panic attack. And what was identified and what was very interesting from the study was that on average between sort of 45 and 47 minutes prior to the participants saying, that when the panic attack started, that there were actually some physiological changes within the body. So something was triggering. Something had sort of kicked in already up to 45 minutes before the panic attack. So something leading up that was going to trigger the rapid heart rate, the rapid pulse, the hyperventilation, and all of those unpleasant symptoms. So what it's indicating really is that they're not so random after all. And yes, it was just one study, but it's a very interesting one. And it sort of lends itself to, the feeling that really, how can these be out of the blue? Because they're so extreme and the symptoms are so physical, so visceral, if you like. There's got to be something behind it. And because the participants were not aware of anything physiological, as any sensations within them, so we start to think, this is quite unconscious. This is something that's really under the radar and just not being picked up by the individual, by the person. Now, panic and severe anxiety, it's a fight or flight response. And especially with panic attacks and panic disorder, it really is, it's an exaggeration. It's like an illusion. It's a false alarm. Because more often than not, there is nothing that's threatening you. There is nothing untoward. There is no danger. It can happen when you're out and about, if you're out in the supermarket, or if you're out with friends, or you're shopping, or if you're at work, or worse still, if you're driving. It can feel almost dangerous if it can happen to you when you're driving. And there's no lead up to it. So you start to think, well, why is this happening to me? There's nothing that was leading up to this. But unconsciously, there is something going on. So the fight or flight has been triggered, and very possibly by, for instance, it could be by smell, by one of your five senses. So you've got taste, you've got touch, sight, hearing, and what's the other one? Smell, touch, hearing, sight, and taste. One of those. I always forget the fifth sense. But, if you think, it could be something so subtle as, because smell is linked to memory, and that's really significant. So it could even be something that you've picked up, that you smell, not so obvious, but it's linking with a memory. And that can maybe trigger something. That could maybe trigger unconsciously again a memory back to maybe when you felt vulnerable, maybe as a child, or you didn't feel loved, or you felt rejected, or something, you know, traumatic or not pleasant happened to you. So there can be a way really to join the dots on this, where a panic attack is not necessarily out of the blue and it is happening for a reason. Now, I'm not saying that the reason is justified. It's not that the panic attack is reflective of any danger, any immediate danger to you, but it is picking up. It's a throwback to something from something else, possibly something in your past picked up through your senses, and it's unconscious. Maybe it's a memory buried in your subconscious. So what I'm hoping is that this is going to give you some food for thought and help you to feel better about yourself, that actually maybe there's just something I need to look into here, to see what's really going on. Is there something that I haven't really dealt with from the past, something that made me feel vulnerable or rejected or not good enough or not loved in the past, or made me feel isolated or lonely, and that's triggered something in that moment through your senses that has kicked off the panic attack and those symptoms, which is like you have to protect yourself, because that's really what those symptoms are doing. You're going into fight or flight mode, and it's telling you you need to protect yourself to keep yourself safe. So it's quite, touching in lots of different aspects of your lives, or your conscious, your unconscious. But really this study has been quite a breakthrough, especially in this area, because so many people talk about their panic attacks being out of the blue. And seemingly, from this research, they're not out of the blue. And there is something else going on, more than likely from your subconscious, connected to your senses, and telling you, oh, this is a reminder of something that's happened maybe in the past where you felt vulnerable and scared or rejected, as I said earlier. So I hope that's been helpful, and I'll do plenty more videos on this. Bye for now.